righty, moving right along. Now, one of the things that all travellers share is a passion for food. We love talking about food, we love learning new recipes, and we love eating. But although anyone can actually escape the rat race, there's no getting around the fact we all need to eat healthy foods if we're to avoid getting sick. Don't worry, we're definitely not the fun police, and it is possible to eat really well and not feel like you're missing out. How? Well, we asked fun foodie Caitlyn Henderson from Healthy Lifestyle AU in Toowoomba in Queensland what we should be eating.
On the line, we have a nutritionist dietitian by the name of Caitlyn Henderson from Healthy Lifestyles. Food, Wine, Pets Travel, we're all about travelling, and, it's a confined space in a caravan. You can only travel with so much extra food. Can't we, Kay?
Hey, you haven't seen what I've got.
But some people prefer easy meals, such as fast food kind of stuff when they're travelling, so they'll often go to a caravan park and they'll say, let's get dialing, let's go get pizza, let's go get this and that, and they'll do that all the time, and that's their idea of eating while on the road. What's kind of the solution there for perhaps getting quality meals, I suppose, while we're travelling?
Easy
meals.
Yeah, easy meals that don't take up too much space in the fridge. Yeah, so there are many options. I guess it depends where you're travelling to. So, if you're going way into central Australia or the middle of nowhere, you've got less and less options for fresh produce that's in good condition, basically. But there are a heap of options. So fast food restaurants, they're probably the most common, most readily available food outlets, such as McDonald's and your pizza restaurants.
Without naming names.
Pretty well. Of course, yes. So those greasy ones. They've all generally got some kind of a healthy alternative, like even the Golden Arches tends to have, it's got like a chicken salad on there. So you can certainly make healthier choices from those food outlets. It's just having a bit of a plan and knowing what foods are on those menus, because sometimes they're hidden in the corner of the menu, or they're not advertised because they're not the most appealing. So, but definitely searching out which foods are on the menu that contain some kind of vegetable or some kind of salad that isn't, deep fried. And most places will have them.
Yeah, of course. Now, one thing we have noticed, speaking of, let's call it takeaway meals or even easy meals that you aren't cooking yourself in the caravan or whatever, we've noticed quite a few restaurants, particularly sort of Asian, Chinese-style restaurants, have gluten-free options. And they tend to be sort of catering for more, celiacs.
Food sensitivities and, low-carb options. Yeah,
and I guess that's catering for predominantly the celiacs who are travelling or, buying food out. So there's a bit of a difference between celiac disease and your gluten intolerance or just, gluten avoidance. The celiac disease is it's an autoimmune condition. If you've got celiac disease, whenever you eat gluten, the body does not respond well. So it flares up and it attacks the small intestine absorption points and does damage to the small intestine. So having celiac disease, you have to be very careful and very cautious. Even, some places that will say low gluten or gluten-free, you kind of have to use your judgment of how accurate, because there can be cross-contamination, and even the smallest crumb, essentially, of gluten or a wheat food contaminating a gluten-free food can be enough to cause a flare-up in the gut. So people with celiac disease need to be very mindful and cautious and always double-checking the preparation of that food that they've ordered. Whereas, there is also gluten intolerance. So it doesn't necessarily mean there's damage being done to the small intestine, but you might not react as well. So people might get a bit of bloating, or bowel movements might be affected. It's not that it's not as important, but it's not doesn't need to be enforced as much, but it might just mean better symptom management.
Okay, so people think, because there is a lot of media, magazines, it's sort of the in thing, does it have gluten, and it's almost like the new pariah. So it is. From your point of view, go see your doctor and then see someone like you. And how do they go about that? How do they find someone like you that knows about this stuff?
Yeah, so if you suspect you may have celiac disease or you're getting symptoms whenever you eat wheat or gluten, definitely go and check with the GP. So they'll usually do a blood test, and they may follow it up with a colonoscopy, endoscopy to see if they can see any damage to the small intestine. So that's generally how they will diagnose celiac disease. If you are not diagnosed with celiac disease, but you think you might have some kind of intolerance, dietitians do help with a lot of irritable bowel syndrome, which might be a bit of an intolerance to wheat, but it could also be a number of other foods in the diet. So we can help identify which foods and which food groups may be causing your symptoms to help improve symptoms.
It's complicated. It's much more complicated than I ever thought.
Well, it's a bit like, weights and measurements on caravans. There's all this hoo-ha about, how heavy you are and toe ball weights and gross, combined mass and all this sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's
more
it's
to it.
a matter of getting your head around it. All righty. Thanks, Caitlyn.
Thank you again so much.
Great. No worries. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Okay.
Bye.
Oh, goodness gracious, so much to learn. I grew up in the era where basically you had to eat what was on your plate and forget about the rest.
Well, I like everything. I think that was sort of half the problem, wasn't it, really?
Maybe, but Brian's looking a little less.
Yeah, look,
Caitlyn.
Caitlyn's advice means I've actually, apart from the fact she's very cute, her advice actually means I've lost quite a few kilos over the past few months. So thank you very much, Caitlyn. Along with Kay's amazing cooking, I have to say, you've always been a great cook, darling.
Thank you. Hello. He doesn't want to miss out on the next meal. BP's a great cook too, but it's just in caravans, the fridge is so darn low. Anyway, still a work in progress, and given Caitlyn is both a dietitian and a nutritionist, and that's quite important, we'll tell you more about that next time. I do have a lot more questions to ask Caitlyn, but if any listeners have a specific question, do feel free to contact us via our website, foodwinepetstravel.com. Thanks again for joining us. You can hear plenty more podcasts on our website, foodwinepetstravel.com, and subscribe or just like our Facebook page for regular updates. Until next time, I'm Kay Brown.
And I'm Brian Pickering. Safe travels.
You want more podcasts like this? Just go to foodwinepetstravel.com.